Hi, everybody. I wanted to come to you this week. Last week we talked about joy. This week I want us to kind of look at something maybe from the negative perspective, but I think it has application as we go through all of the coronavirus things that we're dealing with. And that is the temptation to fall into fear. One of the things that we see all around us is a lot of fear, and sometimes we feel like people are really stirring up those fears within us. But the Bible has a lot to say about that. And so today I want us just to begin a little bit of a study as we look at fear this week and how to keep that under control. You know, one of the first questions that I come up with is a phrase that's repeated throughout the Old Testament is the fear of the Lord. And when we hear that phrase, we think, oh, well, we should be terrified of God. Well, that's not exactly what that phrase is talking about. Because when the Old Testament talks about the fear of the Lord, it's talking about really serving Him, walking with Him, hating evil, loving Him. It's sort of this respect for God that envelops all of life. And the fact is that when we fear God in that sense, all other fears disappear. There's nothing else to fear when we have that kind of an attitude and heart for God Himself. In Psalm 76 and verse 7, one of the things the psalmist says there is, you alone are to be feared. And when we fear God, there's no need for fear to exist anywhere else within us. There's a story from the 2nd century about one of the early church fathers who was named Polycarp. He was a disciple of the Apostle John. He was a bishop of Smyrna, which was in Asia Minor. But Polycarp was facing death. He suffered a martyr's death in about 155 AD, and he was about 86 years old. And as they were asking him to recant, he had an interesting quote as he was facing the fires of persecution. They intended to burn him to death. And one of the things that Polycarp mentioned there was 86 years have I served him, and he never did me any injury. How then can I blaspheme my King and my Savior? One of the things we see there, excuse me, I'll choke on my words. One of the things we see there is just this courageous man in the face of death itself. And I think as we are dealing with our fears this week, we need to recognize that God is present with us. And when we know that God is present with us, fears disappear very quickly. You know, in the famous Psalm 23, one of the verses there, the 4th verse of the 23rd Psalm says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And so this week, I want you to draw close to God. I want you to sense His presence. I want you to spend time in prayer and let His presence deliver you from those fears that really want to control you. And as Christians, we can come out on the other side of victory on this, and God will be glorified by courageous Christians walking through a difficult time. Hope you have a great day and have a great week. Bye for now. God bless.